Hello everyone, welcome back to the China Day 2020. This year it's going to be digital. So this panel's topic and the participants we will introduce in a minute to you. But first of all, let me welcome you from my side as well. Today we will be talking about digitalization in China and Germany, and we will talk about the scenarios and strategies for the next decade. And just to put the things a little bit into context, digital technologies are an integral part already of our private and our professional life. And of course, we all know that China is considered to be a pioneer in many of these areas. At the same time, Germany also has a very implicit position because Germany is broadly expected to deliver international guidelines for data security to make digital transformation work all over the globe. And now with COVID, obviously, and the current pandemic, we saw that digitalization in all areas accelerated actually, in all areas of life, as well as all areas of business. This also had a really positive, or well, let's say it mainly had a positive impact on creative new business models that will definitely shape the way that we use the internet in our daily lives in the future. So in this panel, we're going to discuss the challenges, but also the strategies of the next decade of digital transformation. And here to discuss this topic with me today are several specialists from China and from Germany, and we're very happy to have them all here today. And let me just start introducing to you Fabian from Hamburg. He's German, who started his startup in China, I think 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe you can correct me in a minute. And his startup is, or his company is called, it's not a startup anymore, certainly, is called Hotnest Technology, which is a social media tracking tool that allows to make predictions in different verticals of topics that might be very relevant on the Chinese internet within the next 24 hours. Actually, we really like to call it the Ginternet, but maybe Fabian can say a few words later on to that as well. Then secondly, we have Andreas Hube, who is Vice President and Head of China Liaison Office at SAP. We're really happy to have you on the panel as well as a representative of a German company in China who has been there already for a very, very long time and really shaping the German-Chinese cooperation. And then we have David Wang, who is Chief Representative of Huawei Germany, or Huawei Deutschland. Welcome to you as well. We're happy to have you on the panel. And then we have Zheng Lan, who is General Manager, Western Europe of China Mobile International. Welcome to you too. All right, shall we jump right into, hi, now we see your face. Let's jump right into the topic. We see today's topic is very broad. So we try to kind of divide it into different perspectives. And we will take the digitalization from different angles, taking into account the accelerating effect that the pandemic had on the digital economy. And first of all, I would like to start with the consumer perspective. So that concerns mainly business models and the consumer perspective in terms of how do we reach our consumer. Now, in the course of the pandemic, nearly all industries had to think about new ways to digitally reach their consumers in order to keep their business up and running. And this need to reach the consumer on a digital level fostered a lot of new creative space for new customer journeys and new touch points. And I would like to start with Andreas from SAP on that. Can you tell us how SAP was supporting small and medium-sized enterprises during the pandemic and to keep their offer up and running for their customers?
Thank you, Miriam, for this question. And first of all, thank you very much to the Chinese Chamber of Commerce in Germany for the opportunity to participate in this important event and this discussion. So to your question, on the one hand, SAP helps small and medium-sized enterprises directly with donations. For example, on March 18th this year, we announced the donation of software products and supporting services worth more than 15 million RMB to small and medium-sized enterprises in the city of Wuhan and the overall Huawei province. The objective is basically to establish a digital system and realize post-pandemic reconstruction. Furthermore, we in China have donated a total of more than 20 million RMB to fight the pandemic in various ways, from masks or anything. On the other hand, SAP uses its advanced software advantages to empower those small and medium-sized enterprises to realize digital transformation in this post-pandemic situation. The industrial form, one has to understand, of Chinese small and medium-sized enterprises is different from those which we know in Germany. For example, in Germany, we have those hidden champions. We talk more than 1,000 hidden champions here. They are those industry champions of certain products and solutions. Their products and solution have the largest market share in this specific industry or industry segment. On the other hand, Chinese small and medium-sized enterprises are basically and generally only outstanding in a certain production process or even a component of a certain product. The business model of Chinese small and medium-sized enterprises therefore needs to be changed, and their products also need to be upgraded. And this is where we from SAP think we can help to basically use our software to build a bridge between those gaps, but also through the enterprises and customers to have those SMEs be better connected to their customers, fulfill their needs.
Thank you very much, Andreas, for elaborating how SAP specifically is helping Chinese businesses and enterprises throughout the pandemic. Maybe I can also ask Fabian from Hotnest, what do you think from working in a Chinese market, working with Chinese businesses in for a very long time, and also helping them, especially in the digital sphere, to reach their customers? From your perspective, what can we learn from Chinese customer journeys? Can you maybe give some examples where they are very advanced?
Yes, so thank you first of all for the invitation, and yeah, you just described a little bit about our company. So that's actually how we started. We used to have a social media tracking tool, but now we are a fully integrated sales and marketing automation company. So we help companies automate their sales and marketing journeys in the Chinese market, Chinese as well as foreign companies. Yeah, going back to your question, I think there are many things which are different, or you could also say, more advanced in China. I mean, one very obvious thing, at least in the consumer space, is that things are just much more online than they are in Europe. I mean, it's already more online in the US, but if you sell a product in China, especially after Corona, it's mostly online. In Europe, it's still very much distribution driven. So you work with, the big supermarket chains, or offline distributors, which is completely different in China already. So it's a very basic difference, but it's a big difference. And there you will also see where Europe will also go in the consumer space. Everything will eventually go online. It just takes more time. And you also see, obviously, in China, they have many more different online platforms that sell. You have tens of different e-commerce platforms. You have tens of different social media platforms to promote, to sell your product, versus in Europe, you have only a couple or a handful of dominant online platforms. And I think you will also see this changing here, but it probably still takes some more time. And what this also means, what it means from a brand perspective, or in our industry from the consumer perspective, is also for brands. They used to obviously have a much more distributor focused model where they would sell their products to a big supermarket chain or to somebody in China. That model does not really work that much anymore. So you have to directly sell to the consumer through an online platform, and that's also a very big trend. I mean, in Europe, but it's still slow. But that's already in China. It's very common. You directly sell through live streaming, through influencers, through online platforms. You directly sell to the consumer, and this is actually the main way how people purchase things. And another thing probably which you can see, which is from our perspective quite interesting, probably also where China historically has been lacking behind, which is in the B2B space. You know, I came to China 6 years ago, and China was actually not very advanced in the B2B area in many ways. But within just 5 or 6 years, it completely changed. Obviously now China is leading in many areas, or at least is competing with Europe and the US in big data, in AI, in autonomous driving, in a lot of different areas, and even electromobility, and obviously in e-commerce, in social. China is already much more advanced. But when it comes to B2B, China is also now basically competing with Europe, and that's, I think, a very big change, because I think many people that are familiar with China, they know that China is very advanced in a platform ecosystem in the 2C space, in social media, in fintech. But the new trend, what we also see, and that has very much to do obviously with the Chinese government and the Chinese consumer also is, and the Chinese companies which have matured more, is that companies are willing to use automation tools. Companies are willing to automatize their processes, to make decisions based on data, to make decisions based on even automatic recommendations by artificial intelligence. And this has been something obviously which we have not seen in China before. And in many regards, we can already see, for example, we are in the consumer space. We help brands automatize their marketing and sales processes. So they would use a system that helps them automate marketing and sales in China. But if you try to sell such a system 5 years ago in China, nobody would have bought it. And a lot of the processes that are actually happening are more advanced, I think, than in the West. The logic behind it is actually, you know, in some areas surpassing the West. I think in many areas, China is still behind, understandably, because it only started focusing on these areas 5, 6 years ago. But in our area, for example, in the consumer space and in the marketing and sales automation, where China really was very much a very traditional market 5, 6 years ago, it quickly progressed. So I think these are a lot of, I mean, there are many other differences as well, but talking about the consumer space, obviously these are the main advancements that I can see.
Okay, thank you very much. So let me sum it up real quick for the audience, what takeaways they can get from your insights. So first of all, you said it's very interesting that in China, the distribution landscape on the e-commerce level is still very fragmented. So there's a need for the retailers and brands to directly build up their own channel and their own followership in order to reach them. So be it on TikTok or Douyin or any social media channel. And then secondly, you said there is a great opportunity to actually improve customer journeys and make them more integrated, as Chinese companies have shown this in the last 5 years since you've been in the market.
Exactly.
Can you quickly elaborate on why you think, what were the main factors for Chinese brands and platforms to actually become so quick in this transformation? Is there a specific learning that comes to your mind?
Well, you know, 5, 6 years ago, to be honest, when we started our company, we were, as you also said at the beginning, we started off with a social media tracking tool in China. And a lot of companies that we went to initially and wanted to sell this tool, you know, 6 years ago, they said, we don't need data, you know, we are a relationship-based country. We don't need too much data. And then just within, you know, 2, 3 years, this whole attitude completely changed. And now if you go to most companies in China, they make their decisions based on data, they make their decisions based on insights, on automation. So I think in general, it's a mentality that you probably see in China, that things just change quickly. The government adapts quickly, companies adapt quickly. And I think in the past, probably because also labor costs in China were quite cheap. So you probably, in order to, you know, gain insights, you could have just hired a lot of people that would have done the same thing as a big data system probably does for a cheaper price. But what you see now, actually, that labor costs are rising. Obviously, you see that also big data algorithms and cloud servers have become more advanced. So now you can obviously do things with data and artificial intelligence that before you couldn't do with human labor. So I think these changes in the technology landscapes, as well as labor costs and just a mindset shift from that data automation is really useful and can actually reduce costs. It can make the technology approach, if we talk about our space, the consumer space, using data and an automation approach in your marketing and sales processes obviously causes transparency, it causes cost reduction, it causes better results. So once companies realize, that data is not only, a tool to make your company look better, but actually has clear benefits for your business, in China, the shift was quite quick, and that we saw that in our industry as well.
Yeah, so again, my key takeaway here would be that you're also claiming for a shift in mindset overall.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. David from Huawei. We just heard from Hotnest, from Fabian, that it needs an integrated customer journey, that we need to have a more sophisticated understanding for the needs of our customers, and by collecting data, we can meet those needs quicker and more precisely. However, a digital customer journey always also relies on a solid infrastructure. So how is Huawei contributing to this, and which challenges would Huawei see for European countries if the technology will actually be banned in the future?
Well, first of all, thank you, Mariam, for inviting me to join this discussion. It's a very interesting topic. First of all, I would say to ban technologies would be a pity for the country who make these decisions. So take Huawei as an example that during the past 33 years, Huawei developed our business in 170 countries. A lot of people get onto the internet first time through Huawei's products and solutions. And I joined this company 22 years. During the 22 years, the company's revenue grew up 200 times, from 600 million to $120 billion last year. And the first half of this 6 months, Huawei's revenue grew up from compared to the same time last year, we grew up 13%. So from this growth of the business, you can see this trust and loyalty from our customer to Huawei. So to ban technology, I would not see that as a big risk, because majority of the customer, majority of the government, they know what's the best choice for their consumers. Talking about the future, we strongly believe that digitalization will play a very important role. And Huawei, as a major technology supplier, we invest heavily in research and development. In 2019, we spent $20 billion in the R&D. So in the future, we'll continue to contribute with the best technology. If we go one step further, all this R&D investment will go to 3 directions. The first one is about devices. Today, the most popular device are these smartphones, but in the future, every electronics will be connected, including your cars, your refrigerators, your smartwatch, goggles. Every devices will be connected. We need much more diversified, more powerful, lower battery consumption device. So that is one area Huawei will put our effort on. The second would be the ultra broadband. 5G has been a buzzword during the past 2 years. Besides 5G, also got a fiber broadband connections, and in the future also got 6G and other connections. So look back the past 10 years, the data usage by the consumer grows significantly. 10 years back, nobody spent as much time as today on the internet or enjoyed a video series from different media platforms as much as today. But think about your bill to telecom, maintain the same level or even less you pay to telecom. So that Huawei contributes a bit, that we develop a better technology, provide a better broadband connection with lower cost. If you're traveling around in China, you will see people almost everywhere they are enjoying this video service, and nobody care about this tariff on the data because the data package was the price was low enough for people just ignore it. So that is the second the directions for Huawei to put our effort on. We put our effort to develop better broadband connections and the with a lower cost. The third areas would be this intelligent computing power with the huge amount of data and how to make best use of this data. Fabian just now mentioned a little bit. In the future, that will be more and more. Now we are at just the very, very beginning of this intelligent world. So Huawei would put our effort to develop the best and the most trustworthy artificial intelligence technologies to satisfy the industry, including small and medium enterprise. We strongly believe with more and more devices, with ultra broadband, with a lower cost, and with this trustworthy artificial intelligence computing power, together we will build up a much beautiful digital world. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for elaborating on how Huawei is already contributing to a more connected experience and a better broadband and intelligent computing power. Adding to that, I was wondering, Chenglan from China Mobile. China Mobile has been relatively new to the European market. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you started out in the UK maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But your investment in the new data center in Frankfurt shows that China Mobile itself must see the demand for increased economic cooperation and the need for more connectivity between those who are participating in digital economies. So do you see an increase in Chinese companies coming to Europe for a B2C business or more for B2B solutions? Maybe you can even share some numbers on that.
Thank you very much. And indeed, actually, China Mobile International in Europe, we mainly concentrate on B2B market. Actually, our Germany team can provide a very full range of telecom services, including roaming, internet, multi-net international services, and valued added for enterprise and operator. Nowadays, we are in a very hyper connected world. So information and communication technologies is developing in a very, very, very quick pace. So to meet and these demands in the data consumption, CMI, China Mobile International, arrived in Germany and set up our local team 2 years ago to better accompany our Chinese enterprise to go global and German enterprise to go to China. So we, with our international submarine and terrestrial cable, we can work as a digital bridge which connect Germany and China, and provide our customer not only local services, but also our from abundant international network resources. Actually, with 2 years development, we know very well Asia and Europe are leading trade. We are the leading trade partner with very strong inter-regional investment flows and growing cooperation in many areas. So Germany has maintained China's largest foreign investments, and China is still largest trading partner in European Union for many years already. So China has also become Germany's largest trading partner and largest overseas market for our Chinese company. So over past a few months, that this because of the COVID, forced lots of countries around the world to slow down our business exchange. So, but Sino-German cooperation still remain very high level cooperation. So that means we are still very lots of opportunities to do business together. And actually, Semi will be increasing our investments in Europe. That our objective is to better serve our customer from China and all over the world. We set up more than 17 submarine and the terrestrial cabling over the world. And we have set up now more than 117 points of the presence. And our new Frankfurt data center is expected to be launched in the end of this year. So we think in the big data area, data center play a very key role in facilitating information exchange. And our data center would like to provide professional one-stop shop services. And we think our data center can help the Sino-German enterprise have the very free solutions to expand their business globally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So put it in a nutshell, you see that there are still great opportunities, especially because as of now, corporations are mainly happening on a macro level, whereas there is a lot of potential to trickle down into a more micro level cooperation between companies as well. Thank you. David, Huawei has been a lot in the media recently. We just heard from China Mobile that that there is a lot of demand for cooperation here, and cooperation needs some sort of guidelines. And on August 11th, there were new guidelines, new universal guidelines established that especially tackle Huawei's business as well. So I'm wondering, can you elaborate a little bit on what is the value of the new rules for the digitalization from your perspective?
Yes, absolutely, Miriam. The security catalog announced by German federal government is a big step for these industries. So cybersecurity has been discussed so hot during past 2 years. But Germany is the first country who come out with a comprehensive and a practical way to address these concerns. In this just announced the security catalog, they have identified the critical component and supported with this certification scheme to test, to verify the security or reliability of each component. That removed a lot of uncertainty for everybody. Now, finally, we have a certification system to verify the risks or the level of the security of the infrastructure or technologies that play a very, very important role. Put it this way, during the past 100 over years, we have seen the fast growing of the industrial technologies. Along the development of technology, the maturity of the regulation framework also developed accordingly. Take aviation industry as an example. Right, it's a very dangerous thing to fly in the sky as high as 30 feet 150 years ago or 100 years ago. But now every day, and before this pandemic, thousands, millions of people flying in the sky, and which is the most efficient way to traveling around. Why people doesn't have to worry? Because there are very mature criteria for a secure aircraft. There are very strict operation rules and guidance for the operation of this airport. There are very strict and specific guidance for the pilots how to operate the aircraft. And even there are rules for the passengers how to behave themselves when they in this aircraft. Look, in the digital domain, such kind of regulation framework are so much falling behind the technology itself. Digital technology has a very deeply involved in people's daily life, business model, government operation. But the majority of the law, regulation, criteria, policy related to digital industry falling behind so much. There is a big gap. That gap is the uncertainty for every players in this industry. That gap is the uncertainty for all the consumers. So we value greatly to German's security catalog to provide a role model for the entire industry, how to safeguard a healthy and a prosperous digital industries. So we believe this majority of the regulation framework is a must and to safeguard the development of a digital industry. And we strongly believe the majority of the regulation from need the joint effort. Everybody, include a technology company like us, and also the regulators, lawmakers, big corporation, small and medium enterprise, consumers, industry associations. Everybody should contribute to the majority of this security framework. Only after this joint effort and with multilateral negotiations, this industry's rules will be clear, and only with these clear rules, then the prosperous digital industry could be expected. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David, for this input. So basically, you're saying you are welcoming the any regulation that helps to make the digital space more safe. But you also hope that the process itself can happen a little bit quicker, maybe. And I would like to turn on a similar aspect of or another aspect of this question, which is from a consumer perspective. The digital solutions usually offer some sort of benefits in terms of convenience, or they foster a modern lifestyle. Digital solutions are often very customer-centric. And that's why so many new technologies are really pushing into the market. And especially here we see there's a huge demand for new services in the digital sphere. And I think the users are really asking for new products to come into the market. I think one really good example for this is obviously, because it's also big in the media these days, TikTok. We see this is one big player coming from China, even though they don't have as many monthly active users or total users as other social media platforms, but they grew within a very short amount of time to 800 million active users, and are therefore really shaping the attention economy on the internet. Another example would be hardware here from, I'm just showing you the opening of last year's Huawei store. As you can see here in my background, people are really queuing for new technologies. They really want to test new products. Chinese products are pushing into the market. So there's a clear demand for new technologies, new digital services, and also new business models. And I would like to go back to the topic with the digital transformation that goes maybe beyond customer centricity and pure convenience, we also have other areas of our life that will be transformed by these services and brands that are already pushing from the Chinese market to get more globalized. This would be topics like productivity at work, an improved health system, or individually progressive education, and many, many more. These are all solutions that are already out there in the market. And if we want to take a look into the future, we can actually look to China in many, many ways. So isn't it mandatory that, as China is already advanced in these areas, that there's a lot of potential to learn and actually cooperate on these topics, especially between Europe and China, but of course, with regards to today's topic, between a co-development between German and Chinese companies. So I would like to ask a question to Andreas from SAP. So how is SAP contributing to German-Chinese developments? Do you have a specific example where you're shaping the discourse today already?
Again, thank you very much, Miriam, for this very good question, which is very close to my heart when it comes to Sino-German relationship. So we at SAP have engaged ourselves for a long, long time in the development of Sino-German relationship on each level. One of the core areas is for sure Industry 4.0. So as one of the leading companies, also one of the key companies of the platform Industry 4.0, we are trying to bring the German concept of Industry 4.0 further to China, and with this help especially Chinese companies to realize the benefits of the fourth industrial revolution. Give you an example, we recently established together with the Shenyang government and other partners from Germany and China, innovation community basically, to build an industrial internet supply chain platform for Shenyang and potentially the whole province. Objective is here to help not only the Chinese SMEs to complete their digital transformation, but at the same time, in the context of Sino-German partnership, help German companies to enter the market more easily and have a level playing field. This is very important to us. So in the end, again, thank you very much for having the opportunity to join this panel and also contribute to the further progression of this Sino-German relationship.
Thank you very much. So this will be one example of a successful cooperation between on the side from SAP. I know there are many more other successful cooperations out there. Before I come back to David from Huawei, I would like to ask Fabian from Hotnest, why are you coming to Germany now? Why are you opening business here? What is your plan for cooperation?
Yes, so we started this company almost 6 years ago in China. And now we're kind of, although I'm German, but my co-founder is Chinese and all our team is Chinese so far. So we're basically expanding, although we are kind of a Sino-German, joint venture startup company. We are now expanding from China to Europe, which I guess is quite rare. And well, the reason is quite clear. In the past, we have predominantly been serving Chinese customers. And also companies that have already been in China, so big consumer brands like LVMH Group, or also a lot of local customers. But what we see, one opportunity in the future, I mean, it's also no secret, we have been seeing this for years already, I mean, from our perspective, China is the largest consumer market in the world. You have 800 million middle-class consumers, depending on the number of the numbers you look at, until 2030. So these numbers you just have to think about, right? They're literally Europe and US middle class combined just in one country. So there's still tremendous opportunity in China. And the reason for us opening our first European office, and I think we will open a couple of other offices after this as well in other European countries, and also eventually probably in the US as well. But what we want to do is two things. One, obviously, there's still this tremendous opportunity to bring non-Chinese consumer brands to the Chinese market. And we obviously, I think Huawei also mentioned this, and also China Mobile was also talking about this. Basically, we offer the tools. We're also a B2B software. We are not a social media platform or e-commerce platform, but we enable brands with technology, with AI, with big data to automatize and scale their marketing in China, right? And their sales in China. So this is one reason. So just to bring more brands to China, to help them automatize the processes. And then the second reason is quite clear. You see another big trend, and I think in the future, although now we talk a lot. You see a lot of talk in the media about the trade conflict and decoupling and these kind of things. But eventually, I think there will be more and more Chinese companies that go abroad, that want to enter Europe, that want to enter the US and other places, and especially brands in the consumer sector. You see China is actually getting very strong in their own consumer sector. Obviously, from the German perspective, we talk a lot about the B2B sector and Huawei and China Mobile, which are companies that obviously reached an amazing size. But what you see now in the consumer sector, China is creating their own brands. So if you go to Shanghai, you saw on Nanjing West Road, or to Beijing in some places, you saw a lot of Western brands, but now China is actually creating their own consumer brands. And these consumer brands, they will not only be in China, they will eventually also go abroad. So for us, for our international office, it's quite clear we want to one, bring brands to China, continue that with our software, and the other reason is to bring brands from China to Europe, and also eventually work with European brands and build up our technology. So here we will launch our because obviously our technology so far is China focused, right? We started this company in China. All our data, all our infrastructure is in China and is completely China focused. But obviously we want to also build our system here in Europe. We want to also customize it for the European users and build our platform here in Europe as well. So it's these two main reasons, because we see massive opportunities in companies from China coming to Europe, and obviously still, I think this will never change, companies wanting to enter or wanting to change their mode of operation if they're already in China. Because actually, just to finish it off, we the majority of our clients, which we started, with this whole development of the German office, are actually clients that are already in China, but they are still operating on a very traditional model. They are operating on a distributor model. They're using no technology. They're using no data. They're operating basically like they operated 20 years ago. And what our technology does is basically it completely changes this model. So actually the biggest customers are not necessarily new brands that want to come to China, because most of the brands, in fact, have already been to China or did already come to China. But our main customers are the ones that want to improve their existing operations with data, with AI, and automatize the whole journey. And I think that's still the biggest opportunity.
Thank you very much, Fabian. And so we heard from Andreas, they are cooperating on a very strategic level, creating new norms. And we heard from you, you also want to contribute to the exchange between different SMEs and players within the market to learn from each other as well. I also quickly want to mention a initiative by Huawei. Maybe I just introduce it because I've heard of it and I really like it a lot. It's called a Digital Seeds program, and it basically brings 100 students who are selected by a scholarship to China to introduce them to the digital economy and to learn firsthand in China how you can become a successful entrepreneur within the field of digital innovation. Maybe because we're closing off the panel in a few minutes, maybe David Wang, you can also elaborate on what do you see with maybe in the face of this program for the next 10 years, how will this sort of cooperation actually shape our digital economies?
Yes, we are very proud we have this program because we have been in Europe for 20 years. During past 20 years, we have seen a very different journey in China and in Europe. Comparatively, Europe was pretty quiet on these ICT areas. At the same time, the younger generation in China, they are crazy for different new apps. TikTok, you mentioned, online shopping is part of their lifestyle. So Huawei would like it to play this kind of bridge to connect to younger communities between China and Germany. Actually, this program in a lot of countries in Europe as well. And we understand there are a lot of culture, history difference between China and Germany, but we provide an opportunity for the top talent, the younger generation, to have a look at what is happening in China, talk to their counterpart in China, and they can have their direct information, direct experience. They can have their own conclusion. Maybe some part will trigger them a new idea to build up their career, to contribute to Europe's digital economy. We see that achieved a lot since 2013. Previous years, we picked 20 students every year, but since last year, we picked 100 students. And if not pandemic, they have finished their trip in China. And along this journey, we got a lot of support from the industry peers. All the high-tech companies, they are quite keen to support this program. Especially, I want to take this opportunity to say a big thanks to Mariam, to Dongxi, and you are a big contributor to our Digital Seeds program. We are very happy to get your support, and we appreciate that. Besides our support to the Digital Seeds, in the second half of this year, we're going to announce another program to support SMEs digitalization. You see, a lot of hidden champion or SMEs, they know their industry, they're expert in their industries, but they don't know the algorithm, or they don't know this data management. So Huawei has this expert. We're going to launch a program to give technical support to this SME or hidden champions, whoever need this technical support from algorithm or data management part. This is a non-profit oriented program. We just want to contribute to these industry communities. We believe they will play important roles. As important as these younger generations, the university students and the startup entrepreneurs. All of them are these partners we want to support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. This is a very specific way of improving cooperation and shaping the future of digital economy. I also want to put, because we received many questions actually from the audience, and most of which have already been answered just looking through the questions. So a couple asked about marketing for Chinese companies in Europe, and then others asked for German companies in China and their marketing activities. I think Fabian already touched on that a little bit. There's one question that came a little bit often, or that we saw more, which I would like to summarize and put and ask actually China Mobile. We heard from your approach is very specific approach. It's a networks approach. It's some sort of, we could say, one-stop solution where you can actually tap and merge your European activities with your Chinese activities. And one user or viewer is asking, what are the business-related digital and network-based economic trends and strategies for the next decade? And maybe you could answer it from your perspective as a China Mobile and having a local and global approach at the same time, offering this one-step solution. Do you think this will be a future model?
Oh, thank you for the questions. Actually, with our international network resources, so we can offer the different solutions to the end customer. So as an operator, network resources are always the foundation of our core business. But however, we don't want to be a resource seller. We would like to become an integrator of telecom solutions, because nowadays, the customers' needs are very complex. More and more companies are looking for a one-stop shop, integrate a company to help them to solve all their IT and CT problems in the different scenarios. So in order to respond to these trends, we would like undertake the business transformation in order to provide more valued added solutions to customer. That's why we arrived in Germany, and we want to help German enterprise which have the project to go to China, and we would like to offer the local with a local team and the local service by using the local languages and adapt to the local working habits. We think with our professional advice on the network solutions connecting to China, we can help the customer better develop in China, between China and Europe. That's why we want to become more and more global service telecom provider. That's our position. Thank you.
Thank you very much for elaborating on this as well. I do think there will be a huge need for more connectivity, so you're probably tapping into the right strategy here. I want to thank everyone. We're here at the end already of this panel. I think it was a really delighting and insightful panel. So thank you very much again, Fabian, Andreas, David, and Zhenglan, for your time and also for sharing your honest insights. We will now wrap it up, and I will hand it over to the president of the Chinese Chamber of Commerce in Germany, Mr. Zheng Donglin, for the closing words and the end of the event. Thank you very much.
Liebe Gäste, liebe Zuschauer und Freunde vor dem Bildschirm. Mit einem Zitat vom chinesischen Philosoph Konfuzius möchte ich meine Eindrücke für den heutigen Tag zusammenfassen. Er sagt, Geschichte ist vergänglich, bleibt für die Zukunft zielstrebig. Die Pandemie hat unser Leben weltweit verändert, die Existenz und die Entwicklung der Menschheit. Das wissen Sie, liebe Zuschauer, genau wie wir als Akteure der chinesischen und deutschen Wirtschaft. Aber egal, was bisher passiert ist, müssen wir gut gerüstet sein auf die neuen Veränderungen und Chancen in der Post-Corona-Ära. Meine Damen und Herren, viele Experten haben uns heute aus ihrer Perspektive über die neue Zusammenarbeit zwischen China und Deutschland in den Bereichen der Automobilindustrie und der Digitalisierung erläutert. Die Beiträge waren ausgezeichnet und relevant. Die Technologie verändert unsere Zukunft, die Innovation unser Leben. Wir erfahren mit eigenen Erfahrungen, wie unser Auto durch neue Technologie sicherer, komfortabler und moderner geworden ist. Nun ringen wir um den Vorsprung bei der E-Mobilität. Auch hier kann sich die chinesische und deutsche Automobilindustrie optimal ergänzen, und das ist entscheidender als die oberflächlich gesehene Konkurrenz. Die Industrievertreter haben heute deutlich gemacht, dass sie auch in Zukunft nach der Krise gemeinsam an den neuen Geschäftsmodellen und neuem Impuls arbeiten wollen. Dann steht eine gemeinsame Wachstum nichts mehr im Wege. Ein weiteres Modewort ist Digitalisierung. Digitalisierung in der Produktion, im Vertrieb, im After-Sale. Die Pandemie wirkt negativ auf die Wirtschaft aus, ist aber auch ein Druckmittel für mehr Digitalisierung. Auch hier müssen unsere Branchenunternehmen dem Druck, der von außen kommt, standhalten, um gemeinsam zu wachsen. Die chinesische Regierung und die Bundesregierung setzen sich für ein offenes, transparentes, faires und gerechtes Marktumfeld für die wirtschaftliche und Handelszusammenarbeit ein. Aber beide Länder befinden sich auch in unterschiedlichen Stadien, haben unterschiedliche Gegebenheiten im Lande und unterschiedliche Herausforderungen. Die europäische Screening-Verordnung und die deutsche Investitionsprüfung für ausländische Investoren sowie deren Auswirkungen auf den freien Markt müssen Unternehmen sachlich und angemessen betrachten. Unfaire Behandlungen müssen angemessen artikuliert werden, um sich Gehör zu verschaffen. Ich bin zuversichtlich, dass die beiden Regierungen in naher Zukunft die Kooperation ausbauen, um das Marktumfeld noch unternehmensfreundlicher zu gestalten. Der China Day von heute wäre nicht möglich gewesen ohne die großartige Unterstützung der Partner. Im Namen der CHKD möchte ich mich bei Ihnen herzlich bedanken. Sie sind BDI, DHK, NIO, Techniker Krankenkasse, Beiten und Burkhardt, Berlin-Partner für Wirtschaft und Technologie, SAP und China Europe International Business School. Ein besonderer Dank gilt der China Mobile International als technischem Support für den China Day. Tempus vergeht, die Zeit flieht. Ich darf den 5. China Day schließen und würde mich freuen, Sie alle auf dem nächsten China Day zu begrüßen. Auf Wiedersehen.